And we're back with the finals of BCDL5, and joining me this round is Josh Shields. So this
Hey.
round we have Josh on Jeskai Rag Saga against Roger Sikes and uh, Red Painter. And there we have the most prestigious prize in Legacy, the Chicken Trophy, what we're all playing for. And the players are shuffling up. So, Josh, by this point, you know Rogers on Mono Red Painter. Can you come talk us through the matchup and your thoughts on it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I played against Painter a good deal in the past with whatever flavor. And it's always been from the perspective of Miracles because I've just been a long time Miracles player. And I've always found the matchup to be totally reasonable because they are a two-card combo that you can interact with both pieces and just they have to play onto the board. So just approaching a matchup from the perspective of I'm going to not let you, assemble your two combo pieces together and cobble together whatever way I'm going to win as a kind of secondary consideration, that felt like a great way to approach the matchup with Miracles, and it felt like it transferred out over very well to here as well. Um, I definitely realized that like things had changed pretty heavily just with the inclusion of Saga to be able to grab Grindstone. That's like a ton of redundancy for their deck, but um, I had like similar useful points there because Saga for me grabs Needle, which also interrupts the combo. Um, and so that was my perspective, just to try to control the combo and see how I can cobble a win together after that.
So, do you like your odds in the fair matchup? Because you've got Murktides, which are pretty hard for him to deal with unless he has a blast. So, what do you think the fair games look like?
Um, so I think that they are pretty good for me generally. So the list that I was playing this day had your full four swords to plowshares and three prismatic endings main and one in the side, and just those answers are so clean to everything that Roger's doing. Because just all of the scary permanents are pretty much all creatures except for maybe Grindstone, which costs one mana. So all of my answers just are good, and I think that I can get him to play fair, and I think I'm very happy with, where that takes me, I guess.
So you mulligan this that first hand. You're on six here. This hand looks pretty solid. I'd imagine. So what are you considering throwing back here? It looks like
Um,
Stifle, Retrofitter Foundry, Needle, Wasteland, a
yeah.
Volk.
So I think this land doesn't have a white source, which has me uh I don't remember the full contents of the hand. It's hard to get my thought process exact. I think I'm considering getting rid of the stifle because I don't expect it to have particularly many useful targets. Oh, I end up mulliganing that as well. I think it just had the red source and no castables other than maybe Retrofitter Foundry. Um,
Yeah, it looked like
but I
that's kind of what it looked like there. You had the
yeah.
Foundry and the Needle, a Wasteland, and not much else, no cantrip or anything.
Yeah. And I don't remember whether I was on the play or the draw. I think I was on the play and just really wanted to find something that actually, let me sculpt a game plan or did just a castable card. That wasn't like something that would help me going into a longer game plan because I knew that Roger was on like a welder heavy list, and I didn't think Needle alone was going to buy me enough time to like find relevant things, and also because it's mono red, there's a good chance the wasteland wasn't even going to do anything. So I wasn't happy with the pieces of interaction that I had and chose to go to 5, I suppose.
Yeah, I like the two that you're looking at. Putting back here, leaving you with looks like two lands, the Crucible, Ragavan, and a Retrofitter Foundry. I think is
Yeah.
the fifth card.
So this has a game plan, though it's soft to him just doing powerful things and playing a blocker. But I was very happy with just, being able to put down turn 2 Crucible, and hopefully that does anything. Like I mentioned though, he is mono red, and I'm not particularly looking to do Crucible things in this matchup because I don't have much faith that the Wasteland's going to be live. But at this point, because I was on 5, a game plan is a game plan, and I was hoping that I could just have enough mana for the Retrofitter Foundry to be powerful, because that card does quite well go with a large pile of mana.
Yeah, so your second turn, we've got the Foundry past to Roger, and he's looking like Welder, Saga, a Mountain. Just thinking about the Saga. I mean, that seems reasonably here. I wonder if he's worried about the Foundry running away if he doesn't present something.
Yeah, I think so. He's played a Welder, and I'm at this point just kind of hoping that he doesn't have anything like powerful to do with the Welder, because my hand obviously just has no points of interaction. I do draw Saga, which is one of the better hits, being that now the Crucible actually does something powerful. Like I can start. I have a long-term game plan, assuming Roger doesn't just like
Yeah, go for the combo kill and
carry. Yeah. Um. I think I should have attacked here with Ragavan before playing this Crucible, though. Because I think there's a reasonable chance that he trades. I'm
well,
actually
your
pretty.
Ragavans. I think that he
Oh, that's
died
right.
to the
Sorry, that's
bolt. Yeah,
Retrofitter.
right.
I forgot. I just completely misread the board. Yeah. Okay. Never mind.
No,
Um.
the glare right now we're getting killed by the glare though.
Yeah.
So Roger's got a Goblin Welder, and on your side we've got the Crucible and the Retrofitter Foundry in play.
Yeah. I'm just crossing my fingers, hoping that he doesn't do anything too scary. Would love to find like a Swords to Plowshares here. Looks like my draw step is a Ragavan, which I could dash in and attack, but if he does decide to block, then I don't have mana to make a construct, which I think will actually be a pretty strong clock at this point. And
Yeah, I like that line of just getting the construct out, playing the Ragvan, and kind of
yeah,
next turn make another construct, deploy the Saga again.
yeah. This line has me reasonably safe against not dying. Or like at this point, if I don't die quickly, then this Saga can grab me Needle or Lantern to like disrupt the Welder stuff. So I just kind of am crossing my fingers if he doesn't do anything too busted here.
Yes, not a whole lot going on for Roger. He'll just let
I
let the
I
Saga
remember,
go.
yeah, so I'm not entirely sure why did he play Welder last turn? Or he played Welder. That's right. So he doesn't decide to make a construct here. He just decides to float the mana. That's right. Okay. Um, this is the first time I get to see things from his perspective. I was thrilled to see a chromatic star being grabbed here because that to me signals that he just wants to like go a little slower and try to eke out value, which I feel pretty insulated against. Um, but unfortunately, that's not quite how this plays out, because this Goblin Engineer comes and grabs the scariest thing that I didn't even imagine he had. But here's the Sundering Titan.
You wouldn't be the first person that he got with the Sundering Titan uh, today. We've seen him in previous rounds on camera. Just lock people out of the game with Sundering Titan.
Yeah, it is pretty good here because you can just immediately weld out the star for it. Draw a card and blow up all of my lands. The game's not like technically over because I have this Crucible that can, it's not like I get to keep casting, or I get to keep playing lands, and if I find any real spells I can play them. But it's obviously a huge hit.
Yeah.
I was very unhappy with that all happening. And also scary is now that he has two welders in play, I can't I can't like just needle to turn it all off. And now I think he gets a second uh engineer down, which
Yeah.
yeah.
He goes and gets the painter to really just show that he's right there, and if this Sundering Titan doesn't get there, he could win on any turn.
Yeah. I think like funnily enough, I actually am not too scared of just straight up dying to Sundering Titan attacks because I have this Retrofit Foundry in play. The problem is that with all of these different welders in play, I don't think I can let him untap with his graveyard because I'm not, so I can't needle to turn it all off, and I can't just hold up and threaten this Soul Guide Lantern, because if I try to Soul Guide in response to his activation, he can just do it again with another welder. Um, but I'm just hoping that it goes like somehow he just doesn't have anything to do, and I can build up a big enough board state where my constructs actually tangle with the Sundering Titan, which they're not too far away from at this point. I only have one, but it's already a 4/4, and with Retrofitter Foundry they can grow pretty fast.
Yeah, popping out servos. I mean, I expect at this point Ragavan is just chump block fodder, and to give you time for the retrofitted foundry to grow the construct.
Yeah, exactly. But again, this all seems like a super far cry because it's just so slow for me to actually do anything relevant. And here I don't have any like real castable spell, so I'm just debating really heavily which land I would like to play here that could help check something. Um, the Saga is a consideration because, well, it's not making a construct, it is getting me closer to a needle, which maybe does something. But I decided, I guess, to go with the Wasteland to hopefully like check a further Saga that might grab Grindstone and help finish off this whole combo.
Yeah, Roger kind of seeing the writing on the wall that this construct could get out of control if he doesn't really monitor what's going on with it. So he he just wants to know where we're at artifact wise and see how big it is.
Yep. Oh, the other consideration here was, um, I could get the fetch land, but if I realized that if I like play my Volks and Tundras back out, he can weld out the Sundering Titan and just continue to keep me down that way. So if I'm trying to get mana for the the Retrofitter Foundry to start doing things. I can't play a land with any land types. Or he can like weld it out and just immediately weld it back in. And by not doing that, he can't really weld out his Titan without setting himself back pretty heavily.
Yeah,
It's a
even
pretty nonsense game at this point, to be honest.
with
But these are the considerations.
the goblins, even plow's really not effective here.
Yeah. But I'm basically just like hoping for him not to be able to assemble the combo because, like I mentioned, I don't think this Soul Guide Lantern is going to be really able to interact with it. And the Saga can make a construct which just like further gets me away from this plan of maybe eventually getting constructs big enough to tangle with the board. And but because I like can't do anything else, Roger basically gets to do whatever he wants while I'm just trying to claw my way back into this game with some large constructs.
Yeah, so Roger
Yeah, go on.
uses the channeler to deploy Ragavan. I'm not, sure what the Ragavan's doing here over a second channeler, but
Hmm. I was also not like quite sure what this Ragavan was for. Maybe he's like holding up Blast, I think, and wants to hold up 4 mana, but I wasn't sure at the time and can't quite see his hand. There's definitely at least one Red Blast in there, I think.
yeah, it looks like Mountain Red Blast. One of the things, I assume he'll take the grindstone. Yeah, he takes the grindstone
Yeah,
here.
quickly, surely enough, he assembles his combo with a Painter in the Graveyard, which I think I did exile with the Soul Guide Lantern earlier, with the targeted one. No, maybe that's not true.
No, you
Um,
tagged one when it ETB'd.
okay. So he still needs to assemble his second half of the combo, and here I am very, very slowly trying to uh, make some big enough constructs to do anything at all. Um, think I might have picked up a Stifle, but um, things are still looking super hairy because this channeler is going to continue ripping through the deck to assemble the second half of the combo, and Soul Guide's still not going to profitably interact with that.
Yeah, Roger. I mean, the channelers were a great idea. I mean, just the draw that they get, and the Plan B beatdown plan. I mean, he's finding cards pretty quick.
Yeah, just very quickly finds the next piece of the combo and can play it with just a with a Red Blast behind it. So I yeah.
So he'll just whirlwind slam this here, and
Yeah. I have 2 Stifles in hand, it looks like even, but I think at the time I was just still thinking about welding out the Titan, and that screwing up the one hope I have of getting a big enough board to actually start attacking. Um, but it's all pretty far away, and the combo just immediately comes out. So I'm thinking, like, I think he maybe lets it come back to me, which I was really surprised about because the Saga can go find a needle.
Mhm.
But he has Red Blast for that as well. I pick up a Force of Will even, which is an amazing draw. Um, I definitely expected him to just welder me on his turn while I was representing no colored mana and have this Saga popping. But the Saga popping, finding in the needle, does hopefully get me. Does keep me in the game. it gets even more precarious here because I can't actually sack the Soul Guide Lantern anymore, or he can weld out the needle for the Soul Guide Lantern, and then have the combo working again.
Mhm.
So there, there are so many moving pieces to this game that I feel like I shouldn't really have been in from the like starting Mold-A-Five, but we're in this huge disgusting board state that doesn't make any sense. And still has the uh I this one force of will trying to protect this needle and can't let an artifact enter my graveyard. That's where I am.
Yeah, so he'll try and blast the needle and quickly met with a force.
Yeah. I just have absolutely no choice but to fight over that because that will end the game. But Roger once again has a second blast, which does kill my needle, and I have literally no faith that he will then let me go back to my turn again without grindstoning me out. So pick up my cards.
Yeah, so game one goes to Roger. Uh, what's your plan for game two when we move to sideboarding?
Um, it's honestly just like more of the same. There was a pretty. I'm still just trying to like apply some efficient interaction. I'm thinking about which further pieces of interaction actually get there. Um, and the big question, so I'm thinking of one, how good Stifle actually is here. It's not great at interacting with the combo, but it does do good things messing with Urza's Saga. I'm hoping that I can kind of check that with my Wastelands, and have a much cleaner answer to that card if it's going to do multiple things. So I eventually come down on, not keeping stifles in my deck, and I'm just thinking about the most universal and powerful, efficient answers I can have to enact that game plan I talked about earlier of just stop him from doing anything too scary, let him keep like maybe one half of the combo piece. Um, if I feel sure that I can interact with the second piece, but other than that, just use efficient disruption and cobble together a win. Maybe I find a Murktide, maybe I find an Urza Saga, but I'm not too worried about actually winning. I'm just worried about throwing him off balance and keeping him off of uh, an assembled combo. Or at this point, also like sticking a welder, because sticking a welder is just a nightmare. But all of the pieces of interaction that work on the combo also work on the welders, so I'm just hoping to keep all of that together and just not let him stick one of the scary things.
Yeah, it seems like you were pretty in control as far as the fair game goes with not a lot of resources there. So I think if you can really just keep him off the combo, like, you're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, certainly in that first game, I don't think I drew a single Swords to Plowshares or Prismatic Ending, but before things got crazily out of control, any of those cards would be great. And post board, I have 8 copies of them, as well as a single copy of Blue Elemental Blast. Um, he showed me just like both Goblin Welder and Goblin Engineer, which makes me wonder if I want Pyroclasm. But I think that if I am planning on controlling all of the creatures and not letting him keep one, then I should probably still be on Ragavan post board instead of boarding those out, because that was a consideration of like, if I let him have creatures, maybe I'm not confident about connecting with Ragavan. But because I feel relatively confident that I can check all of his ways of getting on board, I think Ragavan's probably a solid way to pull ahead. Um, and that card also lines up with this game plan of just killing all the creatures on site. Yeah, so it's hard to talk about like a very specific like single game plan with this deck because it kind of operates on those two different axes where maybe it goes really quick with a Ragavan to like get under anything that the opponent can do, or maybe it just like efficiently interacts and plays a longer game plan and eventually takes it over with Urza's Saga.
Yeah, I like the pivot points of this deck, having these different game plans, and then I believe you're also playing 2 Murktide Regent
Yeah.
to go over the top if you had to.
Yep. And it is certainly a very important card that a lot of people have a lot of difficulty interacting with. And I think I have a hand that just has a turn 1 Ragavan, has a Ponder. That's honestly all I need to see in order to keep the hand. But it just is a good 7 that works out. I think he plays his own Ragavan at this point.
Yeah, that's his Ragavan. So we've got a monkey staring contest.
Yeah. This is kind of an interesting point here. I have a Swords to Plowshares or Prismatic Ending in hand. I don't remember which, but I also have a second copy of Ragavan, so I'm more than happy to let this trade happen and just deploy my second copy of the card and turn that previously dead card into a live one, keep my removal in hand because that removal will find a good target in this matchup, and I'm just not worried about that.
Yeah, I like that decision to save the swords to plowshares in hand. You really need it for the combo pieces and the goblins, and it's certainly the right play to make in that situation. And the trade is too tempting if you're Roger not to take it.
Yeah, I don't think you can let the Ragavan connect here. Just it's too easy for that to be a problem. Would have been fun to like have my own Goblin Engineer or something maybe, but didn't quite find one. Or didn't get the connection to see. And I believe that this copy just meets a swift end.
Is that Grindstone?
Yeah, that is a Grindstone. So he has 1 mana still floating here, I think. And I believe that protects him against Daze. Though. Oh, right. He has his copy of Soul Guide Lantern here?
Yeah, he's looking at what to target.
Yeah, it's not horrible. Like it's actually, I think he waited a little too long on this, but we'll get to that in a bit. I think I find the Ponder, one of the cards that I saw was a Murktide Regent, and there are conveniently 4 cards in my graveyard. So I am thinking about like I could play my Urza's Saga and immediately delve 4 to get it in play under the Soul Guide Lantern, but I test the waters with this Ponder of seeing if he lets it resolve, because at that point I actually don't remember if my hand has an unchecked fetch, but it seems like he doesn't want to blow this Soul Guide Lantern on a graveyard that basically has no spells in it once this Ponder's gone, and to me that seems clear that I can wait on this Murktide and try to make it a little bit bigger than a 3/3, because a 3/3 is just not quite the clock that I'm looking for here.
Yeah, your deck list had 2, and you really need to get outside of bolt range and make the blast his only real answer for it. So
yeah, that was absolutely the biggest consideration, I think, of waiting on this Murktide to see if like he doesn't quite crack the lantern yet, because getting outside of bolt range is a huge deal.
Okay, so you didn't like what you see. You shuffle on the Ponder. And let's see what we get here. You don't show us. Oh, no. Okay, so we play Saga and pass the turn.
Yeah. this is a pretty interesting decision point because by playing the saga here, there's a question of do I make the construct or like do I want to tie my mana up next turn making a construct or playing the Murktide, but and it would be a lot cleaner to play the Murktide before I play the saga in the first place. But I think because Roger has already deployed this grindstone, I'm pretty happy just letting the saga get closer and closer to a pithing needle that can like help keep everything in check as with what's going on.
So Roger plays the Magus of the Moon, and you float white, presumably to plow.
Conveniently, this makes that all not even an issue because I can't make a construct if I wanted to. I guess he wanted to play around days by playing his own Urza Saga before playing the Magus, but I think in his shoes I would like to just
And here I'm assuming this is we're jamming straight into Murktide right here.
Turns out looks like I brainstorm first actually, which I am kind of surprised about in retrospect, but I guess I'm not worried. So my hand has like multiple, or it still has a Swords to Plowshares. I'm not worried about this game ending anytime soon, and because I'm so happy with like, oh, right.
You've also got a Scalding Tarn in hand as well.
Yeah. And also I would love to be able to like play this entire game without just exposing myself to just getting grindstoned out, because he has a grindstone sitting on the board and an ancient 2 like 3 mana sitting in play. I was hoping to like try to find a Force of Will or something to protect me from just losing the game, and here I think I take the risk of saying, okay, if you have like Painter LED, then I'm willing to lose to that, but I'll tap out this turn to establish my clock. I think it was a close decision, but it ended up working out because I don't just immediately die. But it is not hard in this spot for Roger to have a hand that just wins the game here.
Yeah, it really makes this Murktide a must-answer threat, and it looks like he's gonna just start digging right here for that answer.
Yep, because this is the window where I have no mana. I can't Swords to Plowshares a Grindstone. I'm very happy to just see an Ensnaring Bridge here because I have so many answers to that card. It looks like I have actually 2 copies of Prismatic Ending, and at this point I think I'm committed, where if your best play last turn was Ensnaring Bridge without even another land, it's so hard for me to die to a Painter's Servant here that I'm happy to just get rid of that and ask you the same question I did last turn, but having hit you with the 5/5 or a 6/6 here.
Yeah, Roger also correcting life totals there for the 2 damage from Ancient Tomb, then the damage from Murktide Regent to take 8, and then I believe the Scalding Tarn was what he ticked your life total down on.
Yeah, I think I am also keeping track of life total. That's what I'm reaching for over there. So we have another verification. Once again, stoked to just see like a Goblin Welder here, because my hand at this point is still just a Swords to Plowshares and a Prismatic Ending, which just basically covers me against everything. Even picking up a Daze, just like in case somehow things got out of hand. At this point, I'm asking myself whether I even need to care about this Goblin Welder, because Roger only has 1 more turn. But the terrifying thing is that if he picks up a way to deal with this Murktide Regent, maybe the game goes long and things could get out of hand. I feel very happy here, but it's not hard for things to change.
Yeah, it looks like you're forecasting the plow there, tapping the 1.
I'm pretty sure Yeah, so I had the plow in front. I think I was way more likely to cast the prismatic ending here than the plow, because Roger could still have this like whole LED thing, and I would rather hold up the instant speed interaction to disrupt the combo if he can somehow make a bunch of mana, get under this daze, and welder me out all on the same, and grindstone me out all on the same turn.
Yeah, so Roger's final turn here, he's, we don't see what he drew. He'll desperation cycle a card, probably looking for the LED.
It's basically impossible at this point now that
Yeah,
he's
he'll
at
scoop
2
him
because he
up.
can't even tap the ancient. Yeah, that once I had that like one extra Murktide hit in, I don't think he had any outs. Yeah, so game 3 is, I don't think my sideboarding changes. I think I maybe consider it. Because stifles still seem a little interesting. But not interesting enough, and I still think Crucible is not the game plan for this matchup because it just has so many mountains. Wasteland's going to be fine anyway. I don't think like the additional copies of Wasteland are usually going to be what I'm looking for. Though there was maybe a consideration for just, keeping Saga, keeping like him off Saga for the rest of the game. I think that's a reasonably powerful thing to do. But he has enough other things going on that I think Crucible is a little slow here.
Yeah, that's. I think the. So what about the pyroclasms here?
So
It
the
looks
class,
like you didn't bring those in.
yeah, the Clasms are an interesting decision. And that was the card yeah, was very close to bringing in, but decided against it because I was bringing in a Grim Lavamancer that I didn't really, so a Grim Lavamancer, and I'm keeping it on my Ragavans, which has a lot of tension there. And then Painter's Servant itself is a 3 toughness creature instead of a 2 toughness creature. So I didn't think it had quite enough targets. And if I am constructing my game plan to really be answer basically everything you do, but like have all of my cards trade, I wasn't super interested in boarding in a card that could be good if he has like a board of multiple engineers or welders, but could also just be bad for me. If I want to play the efficient keep you off your thing, then I think I need basically all of my cards to have test.
Yeah, and I think the pyroclasm really looks like a trap there
Yeah,
for the reasons you said.
he also has magmatic channelers, which often are 4/4s. It's just like another thing that is threatening to take over the game, and kind of need to keep him off of everything and just be a leaner, more efficient deck that only needs a single card to stick around to win the game rather than multiple cards sticking around.
So Rogers turn 1 Soul Guide Lantern after the fetch into Mountain. That's probably about the best start you can hope for on your side.
For sure. Just him not doing anything super scary is just absolutely what I want. And I have my turn 1 Ragavan. This hand also has a blue elemental blast, I think, which
yeah, there's a Hydro Blast in hand.
Yeah, as well as like engineered explosives, and it's just full of good cards. I could probably clear the way for my monkey if he doesn't immediately have a kill spell for it. That could run away with the game, but unfortunately he has the bolt, and so we're gearing up for a long game, and I'm thinking about how to just efficiently trade my cards off, to see where this game gets me. I have no real clear way of winning the game yet, but I'm hoping that if I can make this engineered explosives a 2-for-1, then I'll just like be enough ahead on resources that I can eventually cobble together a win.
I mean, it looks like there's a Murktide region in hand that you could.
Oh, do I have that? Then never mind. That's the game plan. I had forgotten about that.
Yeah,
Right.
you shuffle cards here pretty quickly, but yeah, I think I see a Murktide region there.
Yeah. Uh, and I think I'm trying to.
I mean, if you
So
see Roger just cycling through his deck, and you're pretty
yeah,
happy with that waste
yeah.
thing because he's clearly doing nothing over here.
hmm Um, that was definitely the consideration at that point of like, I don't think you have anything too scary, so I think if you have no real impact plays, I kind of want to wasteland you and keep you off of just like keep you slowed down. I'm also I think you're right. I do have a Murktide in hand, and I'm looking for how to prolong the game long enough to make that just good. And in order to do that, I need to interact, put cards in my graveyard, and get ready to cast it. But I have like, I think I pick up this Ponder here, but until that point, I had no cantrips. So filling up my graveyard for the Murktide seems relatively difficult. And I was happy to just start getting my graveyard full.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That channeler, he's stuck kind of on lands. He's got the ancient tomb, so it can really draw Roger out of this point, and just getting another card towards Murktide seems pretty huge here, and that looks like a great ponder with the force and really just the answers you want up there.
Yep. Having showed me a Magus of the Moon just in the last game, that's certainly something I'm thinking about as well. I'm stoked to be able to find this Force of Will just in case like a Magus was going to come down and just end the game on the spot. Because if that sticks around and I don't have the answer for it in hand, I will never be able to answer it. I don't have any like lightning bolts in the deck. I have nothing castable off the red mana that will kill it. So I am happy to insulate myself from that card in particular. I really don't want to pitch this Murktide to the Force, but it is something I like will do if the alternative is just losing the game.
Yeah, Roger really doing you a solid there with destroying the foundry. I mean, I expect to see a Murktide deployed here, especially
Yep.
if you did you find the blue card for backup?
Yeah.
Oh, you have the
I,
no. Oh, that's the
no,
Grim
I have
Lava
the Grim
Dancer. Okay.
Lava Man. That's right. So there's this fun game I'm playing where when I saw this Grim Lavamancer, I was happy to just like keep drawing the cards without like I think I wanted like all of the Ponder cards, and I think this Grim Lavamancer checks so much of his deck that I'm happy playing a long game as well. And do I go ahead and deploy the Murktide here? I think I do not, because I'm happy enough with this Grim Lavamancer that I want to keep up this Force of Will just for anything scary, and I think if the game goes long, then it's hard for me to lose as long as I keep this in play.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of got to respect the number of blast effects Roger has. So I
Yeah.
like the decision to hold up until you've got force backup for at least the first answer.
Yep. And then the last card I think is a blue card that will let me deploy this Murktide while still holding up the Force.
So Roger plays the Goblin Engineer, goes and gets the Painter into the graveyard. We're still okay. We've got Grim Lavamancer to really do some work and get rid of those cards that won't grow Murktide Regent.
Yep. At this point, it's tricky enough because uh I think what I do here is I get to grow my I get to eat the cards with Grim Lavamancer to also grow the Murktide. I'm trying to remember exactly. So yeah, Murktide needs to delve 5, and I annoyingly, I think, couldn't shoot it on. Yeah, I have 6 cards in my graveyard. If I delve for this Murktide completely, then I no longer have a Grim Lavamancer shot. There's some tension here of trying to not let him untap with a welder, which is terrifying. But hopefully be able to play this Murktide.
Yeah, I
Um,
like. I'm assuming you're about to make the decision to hit
yeah,
the goblin here, and I think that's the right call.
yeah, I think it's way too scary. This is what Grim Lavamancer's for. If the Murktide has to pitch to the Swords of Will, it can. That's fine. Definitely don't want to let him untap with a welder effect in play.
Yeah, I think really what I think people can take away from this is the amount of patience that you show here in getting just not jamming the Murktide. So I think
Yeah.
that's something to note here. I mean, you draw the Wasteland, you can hit the Saga or the Tomb, and then play the Murktide and have your force backup. So now you've got the Daze as your blue card there hiding out in your hand.
Yep. And I think I actually make the choice to hit the Ancient Tomb here because I'm thinking at this point that that the that probably actually makes the Days live itself too. And then I have this engineered explosives to check um everything else going on. I'm still playing this like really awkward game here where I don't want to shoot things with Grim Lavamancer so that I can have a big enough graveyard for my Murktide. Um, and am happy with letting him just make constructs here because I have the engineered explosives that I want to like be able to pop to also solve this LED that is maybe sitting around up to no good. And just keep everything clean. Just try to keep uh yeah, to keep him from having anything too scary going on while hopefully eventually being able to deploy this Murktide. I'm also pretty happy and totally fine with him grabbing this Pithing Needle here because it keeps him without much going on, puts him back down again on mana so the Urza Saga isn't puts him back down on mana so the Daze is probably live again. And if this game goes slow, eventually this Murktide will work.
Yeah, do you recall whether he named the? I assume it's the Lavamancer, but it could be the EE.
No, he named the engineered explosives
Okay.
here. Yeah, which
Yeah,
is a
definitely makes
tough
sense with the
call.
constructs.
Yeah, like I think that's his game plan here. And if he names the engineered explosive, or yeah, if he names the Grim Lavamancer, this engineered explosives just leaves him with basically nothing going on. Um, at this point, I think now that I think I've comfortably gotten to the point where I can play my Murktide, tapping 3 mana so that I only
You know, we're
so that
saving fodder in the graveyard
yeah,
for Grim Lavamancer there.
yeah. Uh, and he has little enough going on now that I have this force and everything. Um, that uh, that I feel fine tapping out for the Murktide here because I still have this Grim Lavamancer, which is now active again that I've put a spell in the graveyard, and makes his whole construct plan basically not work because the Murktide will just outrace it, and can block for this turn, which is also relevant. Um, plus, there was a bit of a decision there of what to actually pitch to this Force of Will. I think I have to protect the Murktide, but I'm hoping that this Daze will end up lining up to some degree. And at the very least, I can fire it off on something blank, which is pretty okay for me because it turns into a Grim Lavamancer activation, which also will grow the Murktide.
So you find the ending, hit the needle. Yeah, I mean, Roger's got so little going on. I mean, he could sack the LED to pay for the days, but
yeah, that was definitely one of the things that was really crucial about this like turn cycle, which I think is really, really cool and interesting. I would really like to make this Days live. I'm not worried about losing to the Construct race, but by cracking this engineered explosives, suddenly it's really, really hard to die here because he's so much more choked on mana than he would be otherwise. And there's a bit of an like trying to figure out what's going on here. I need to wait for him to pass priority on this saga, and I don't want to let it pop. He has a Painter Servant in hand. If this saga pops without me cracking this engineered explosives, he can cast, or he can find Grindstone, immediately cast the Painter, and will have mana to just immediately Grindstone me out. So I have to crack this here, or I have to wait to see what Roger's doing here. Once he doesn't make the construct, while I have priority because the Urza's Saga trigger is still on the stack, I choose that moment to crack the engineered explosives to get rid of his LED before he can actually cast things from hand.
And that's a real heads up play to realize he's got enough mana there that you can just die on the spot if he's got the Painter, and we've seen it that he does have it in hand. So he'll go get an artifact from the saga, and I assume he'll deploy this Painter.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense because he has to go for it. He doesn't have another turn. This saga doesn't give him 2 turns. One more really cool thing here is that it goes back to me. I don't think he has any more plays from here, but I have I get to grow my Murktide Regent with this Grim Lavamancer shot to get him low enough that he can't actually Painter me out. I think that's correct, but let me see.
Right. So you're referring to the exile clause on the Murktide Regent.
Yeah.
Right.
When you delve extra, or when you get rid of extra spells in your graveyard, then that continues to grow the Murktide Regent, which is really nice. So I make the decision here, though. Was it a 5/5 or a 4/4 there? Did I have that wrong? I'm trying to remember what happened there. Because
I think it was it was at 2 counters. It looks there's an extra counter on there.
So I might have definitely screwed that up at that time.
So I think Roger maybe should be at 3 life here.
That is a huge deal as well. No, he totally should be at 3, I think.
And he doesn't find the land anyway, so he's not going to survive regardless.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked because there were 5 people watching this, weren't there? I'm actually shocked no one else noticed that I totally just fumbled with the dice.
Yeah, just the phone counter there is the actual official there. I mean, you guys were off to the side keeping track of life totals, but
Yeah, totally fair.
yeah,
Um,
you get the win here and the big chicken, and you know, tell us how you
yeah,
feel.
no, it was awesome. It was a wonderful experience. I was visiting town to get to like see a bunch of friends again and show up to this event to like support this community, and it was awesome because I did not have many reps with the deck or anything, but I
Friends would
just
walk up
was
to me and just
stoked
be
to
like,
get to be able
"What
to
the?"
play in the tournament, and it was a shock and a wonderful surprise to be able to do as well as I did.
And I think our friend here, what the, a great tournament also for a little history that some people still watching may not know. Josh lost in the finals one of the previous events and just missed out on the big W and getting his name on the trophy. So happy to have him come back, and a great win for him and a great showing with the deck.
Yep, I got my redemption, which feels great.
So, do you have any parting words before we sign off?
Um, I think I'd just like to say I I was ecstatic to be able to come down for the weekend, and I'm super happy that like you're putting on this tournament series because it's just like so great for the legacy community in Columbus, and it's just doing a lot to keep people excited about the format, which is wonderful because it's a awesome format that just doesn't like see as much play as I think it should.
Yeah, and I appreciate everyone that comes out and supports these events, and from our local judge Ethan Greenberg to our great shops that we work with. This one was at the Warp Gate, and also in the past we've worked with Comic Town. So we couldn't do it without them and without all the people supporting us. And it may look like a one-man show, but there's quite a few people that really help me and make these happen. And we're growing, and legacy in Columbus, Ohio, and Central Ohio is growing, and people like Josh traveling for these events and help make this happen. So I also appreciate that, and everyone else who's stuck around this long for our video. So with that, that's going to do it for BCDL5, and stay tuned. Some BCDL6 coming to you soon.
Looking forward to it.
Take care, all.